Hello, I'm Rick Edwards and you're watching this. But what is this? Well, for the first time ever, we're going to be live streaming discussions with the leaders of the UK's political parties. This is Leaders Live. This week, we're joined by Natalie Bennett, the leader of the Green Party of England and Wales. How are you, Natalie?
Very good, thank you. We're very much looking forward to it.
Well, this is the first one, so you are the guinea pig. So
exactly.
I'm gonna say, good luck, basically. So our studio audience is made up of YouTubers as well as a few well-known faces. There's only 15 of them, but between them they have a reach of millions. And tonight they'll be selecting a mixture of questions and comments from their social networks. How you all doing? You all right? Yeah. You up for this? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow, scary. Yeah. So, Natalie, tell us straight, where does the Green Party stand on education? Are you for it?
Yes, very much so, and I very much agree that it should be free. But to go back to start where we started there in terms of the curriculum and the way that our schools work, I think there's a real problem that our schools, our whole schooling system feels like a sausage machine.
Natalie, in a nutshell, what is your policy on the environment? I'm assuming you've got one.
Yes, and basically I've said, you know, we have to live within the limits of one planet, and that means obviously emissions of greenhouse gases have to come down within the limits. We also have to think about the kind of damage we're doing to our biodiversity. Fact is, we've lost 50% of our wildlife in the past 40 years around the world. We've lost half of the vertebrate animals in the world have gone. We've got to think about the plastic soup that our oceans are becoming. We've got to think about the damage to our soil, our fresh water. The fact that a lot of the crops grown around the world rely on water, underground water, that's being sucked up faster than it's being replenished.
15 seconds on fracking.
Yep. We have to leave at least 2/3 of our known fossil fuel reserves in the ground to avoid catastrophic climate change. Fracking means going to find more. It's entirely the wrong direction.
So, Natalie, give us an overview of the Green stance on jobs policy.
Yeah, well, first of all, we should make the minimum wage a living wage. At the moment, the minimum wage is $6.50, yet it's calculated to live to a very basically decent standard of living. And to give an example of this, it allows for 1 week's holiday in Britain a year.
I've got a question from someone on Twitter who asks, what's the Green Party's stance on unpaid internships?
We're absolutely opposed to those. If you're doing what's a job, then you should be paid for that job, and you should be paid the minimum wage, which should be a living wage.
And what would you do to tackle the fact that, depending on what social class you're from, determines the kind of job you get? So, for example, a lot of people who are MPs, a third of them are coming from private schools. What do you do to tackle that, to ensure people like me and other people get those kind of jobs?
Yeah, I think that, you know, discrimination is a huge problem and it's pervasive through our society. And I think, you know, certainly in terms of public sector and people who supply public sectors, we should be enforcing basic anti-discrimination laws, like insisting that they use anonymous CVs. No, you asked me about benefits. I'm sorry, you did ask.
I asked you about the minimum wage, and now you're being very politician-y.
Well, I'm sorry, but yeah, I invite people to wind the tape back. You asked about benefits. That was in your question.
And many people who are ageing can't afford to fund their own care. And these, and local NHS services, they can't afford it either. How do you propose that we solve this problem?
Well, it's worth saying, first of all, that basically we've seen a huge cut in per head terms of funding for the NHS. It started under the previous government and has raced on in this government.
Sack. What are your views on decriminalising marijuana in the UK?
Right, well, we basically believe that drugs should be treated as a health issue, not a criminal justice issue. And at the moment, what's happening is you see, you know, large numbers of people from minority communities are far more likely to acquire a criminal record, and, you know, that's going to affect the rest of their life. Whereas if you actually look at the situation with, you know, people from relatively privileged backgrounds are far less likely to be affected by that, even though they're actually not less likely to be using drugs in the first place.